Everybody say hi to my friend Jason. Jason is, I'll, I'll briefly outline your sort of bio, but you've been in Nashville for a while now. You've been studio and or live vocalist for tons of people. Lyle Lovett, Randy Travis, Johnny Lang, Nicole Mellon, Mark Broussard, Eli, Micah Dalton, Grits, Verbs, Circadian Rhythm, Sammy Ward, DJ Maj, Toby Mack, Noda Verbs, Pigeon John, and me. And among many, many others that aren't even listed. But like Dave Barnes, for example. We sang together with Dave a couple years ago. And
I think your mic is out.
check, 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 check. 1, 2. Hello. Hello. My fault. There we go. Yeah, seems like just about every musician I know knows you or knows about you or has played music with you. Tremendously talented singer, musician, songwriter, and seems very eager to share it with the world. So I don't know. I just noticed. I remember. It seems like to me. I don't know if this is gonna work. Thank you. Check, check. Thank you. Technical difficulties. It seems like Jason is just eager to like sing it a lot, and I mean, I just think of in 2011 when I was playing keyboards with Dave Barnes, who some of you guys met last week, and Jason was singing on that gig, and then I had my own Christmas show like the next night or something, and he had a gig that same night, but he came over after his thing to sing at the end of my Christmas show and just lifted the whole place up. And so we're really glad that he has come here to help out. First time I saw you, I think, was a thing called Zoom, which was a kind of a soul R&B night at Third and Lindsley a few years ago. And that was just kind of amazing to me. And then a few years later, I was watching Austin City Limits, and Lyle Lovett was on there, and you were featured, and I was like, man, I got to do some more stuff with Jason. He is really good. So why don't we just start? We're going to play some music, but why don't we start talking a little bit about what you've been up to lately, like the last year or so. Have you been playing your own shows, singing with others, studio stuff, live stuff, writing songs, working on any new recordings, all of the above?
Yeah, pretty much all the above. I think you know this probably as well as anybody. As a musician, you have to do a lot of things to keep the machine going. And so for me, it's been a pretty consistent mix of everything. I've been in the studio with other artists, and also doing some of my own stuff and writing and traveling some. I work with a couple of bands here in town pretty regularly, in addition to my own band. I work with this band called the Cumberland Collective. I think you know some of those guys.
Yeah.
And this band called Tim Akers and the Smoking Section.
I know Tim Akers.
It's a Zoom-esque kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of a.
When does that happen? Is that a regular thing?
It's kind of a monthly thing. It's usually at Third and Lindsley. And then the funnest thing I shouldn't say funnest, but probably funniest thing I've been doing lately is singing in a lot of like wedding reception bands, and it's so fun to like kind of be the soundtrack of people partying like at a special event, just watching.
Yeah.
It's amazing people watching, because it's you've got the groomsmen who came to find them a girl, and so they're all scoping out who the bridesmaids, and then you've got the nervous father who can't really dance that well, but he's got to do that father-daughter dance, and so. So yeah, a little bit of everything to.
Do you like that? Do you like having the variety, or is there like one thing that gosh, I wish I could just be doing this, or is it like you like keeping that varied?
There are some days where I really enjoy the variety, like just being able to go from one thing to the next and keep life interesting, I guess you would say. But but then there's some days where I'm just like, man, if I could just play my own songs for a couple of months straight, I'd be all right with that.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of both. You know?
I was riding with somebody the other day named Matt Gerard, and he said he had just written a song with you the day before. And do you do a whole lot of co-writing like that, or on your own, or?
I'd say within the last year is when I've really kind of dove into co-writing with folks, and I guess letting go of the fear of having conflict in a room with this other person when you're trying to like get your heart out, but you're like you want to write something good as well. So
that's tough. Yeah, I'm that is something that's kind of strange about co-writing, because a lot of times you end up in a room with somebody and you've never met them
that day.
And then you're gonna write a song about the most intimate human emotions that there are. Well, that's good. That's good. I'm wondering. So when you write songs, you usually are writing for yourself to sing. Would you say?
Yeah.
And where do you find the inspiration for that?
Just life, really. It's I feel like there are some artists that like the person that they are on stage and the person that they are otherwise is like two different people. They're musical actors, if you will. But for me, it's like I'm the same. Like if I'm singing a song to you, it's probably about something that has happened to me or been a part of my life. So, and I don't think there's anything wrong with either of those things. I think there's place for both of them. But I think my musical path is more of a relative. This is who I am as I sing these songs, kind of thing.
Okay, well, this is just as much selfish for me, the interview, as it is kind of sharing this with you all, because I've been in a lot of musical settings with Jason, but I really haven't gotten to know him super well. I'm really curious about a few things about your background. For example, you grew up in East Tennessee, and after high school, you earned a Bachelor of Science degree in mechanical engineering at Tennessee Tech. And then you went and worked for about a year and a half in Huntsville, Alabama, in an engineering job.
Yep.
What was that? Just talk about that journey, and how did you become interested in mechanical engineering, and then going from that to making music full time? If you don't mind.
I don't remember. No. I grew up, not. Obviously knowing that there are people who did music for a living, but not necessarily thinking that was something I could do, or because I grew up in a really small town, and it was, you graduate high school, you go to college, you get a job, and so that was kind of, the life path I was on mentally, and I was always that kid that took his toys apart because he thought he could put it back together better than it was. It never really worked out, but that was my mind, and that's kind of how I got into just thinking about as I was getting graduating high school, thinking about okay, maybe engineering is something I could be into, because I'm a really right brain analytical. I'm an anomaly for musicians because like I kind of operate in both sides of my brain, and so yeah, I went to college and got a degree in mechanical engineering. I think I went to like a what do they call it, job fair when I was in college or whatever, or high school, and they were like, well, or college fair, I guess, and they were like, well, engineering would be good for you because that's the way you think. So I studied that, and I also played football when I was at Tennessee Tech. So it was like a whirlwind of activity, and I was singing in a few choirs and stuff like that. So finally, once I graduated, I was like, oh, I think I'm going to do that one thing for a little while again, because it's like, having all those different things going on, sometimes you just want to wake up and do the same thing every day.
Focus on one thing. Yeah, I can relate to that.
So, I ended up taking a job in Huntsville for about a year and a half as an engineer for NASA, and
What were you doing? Just out of curiosity.
I worked. It was many of the tasks I did were so menial. Like it was a lot of times I was. They had this software. The company that I worked for had developed this software, and I was responsible for checking and testing that software to make sure it was working correctly. But I only used Microsoft Excel to do that, so it was like, it's like,
Okay.
okay, there's accountants that use Excel and rocket scientists apparently. That
Wow.
I always laugh when people say it's not rocket science because it's not really that
It's not
big
really
of a
that
thing.
good. Wow, you're pulling the veil out
It's
from.
not Excel. you know.
Uh,
Sorry, Bill Gates. I didn't mean it.
well, and so you're working in this job, and at what point did you decide I have to move to Nashville and try and devote myself to music fully, or did that happen?
It was a progressional kind of thing. So when I was in college, I worked at these summer camps called Kids Across America out in Branson, Missouri, and through working at those camps, they would always bring musicians in, and I was kind of like the worship leader / technical guy. So I got to interact with the musicians, and a lot of times, they were from Nashville, and so I ended up meeting the guys from Grits, like however long ago, like gosh, it's so funny, like 15, 20 years ago, it feels like. And one of those guys was getting married like that fall, like so he invited me to come sing in his wedding in Nashville, and so through that I started meeting people, and being in Huntsville is like an hour and a half away, so it was like I'd kind of come up on the weekends and just hang out, and that's kind of when the seed got planted. Oh, maybe you could do this for a living, like you could maybe sing and be able to eat at the same time.
Imagine that. Yeah.
I know you guys look at me and can tell that I like to eat. I'm just getting that out of the way so you don't have to feel uncomfortable about it. So yeah, I just it's funny because like when I was working the engineering job, like I started kind of like buying recording gear, like a 4-track cassette, like
Yeah.
a relic now, like
I had one.
Yeah, I mean I think that's where if you're in our generation, like that's what you started recording on. So and I would stay up till like 3 and 4 in the morning recording music, and then have to be at my real job at like 7. And so I was always just like, this is not working. So eventually I just kind of faded out of one and into the other. That's probably the best way to describe it.
Well, we should play some music.
Let's do that.
You should sing something. Let's see.